Friends, what's up? Ash here. Welcome back to Gents. Hope that you're doing well. So even though clone fragrances are cheap, I end up spending more money on clones because they just keep coming. It's impossible to keep up with how many different clone fragrances are released basically every week, unless you work for the clone companies. Get them to send them to you. So I've been placing fat stack orders on JOMASHOP, on FragFlex, on random stores for things that aren't carried at those ones, and I've been digging through the crap. But today I want to share with you some of the ones that I've picked up that don't suck. That's pretty good. All of these are going to be linked in the description. Let's go with one of the best ones, possibly the best one out of my recent hauls. This stuff rules. It is Ramad Earthy by Arabiyat Prestige. Presentation looks slick. Really, really nice. When I first pulled this out of the box, I was kind of like, is this screwed up? But no, it's just how it comes. Just because of the mismatched color from the cap and the bottle, but that's just the vibe, I guess. This stuff is top notch. Like, the quality here is banging. This one smells similar to Amouage Sinbad, and there's a lot going on here. Like, if you look at the note breakdown for this, it is the polar opposite of the 3-note breakdown. There's tangerine, there's apricot, there's honey, there's cappuccino, there's pomegranate, there's vanilla, there's tonka, there's a lot going on. And looking at the name, you would think, well, it's gonna smell like dirt. Earthy. The name is Earthy. But when you blast this stuff on, it's actually really sweet. That honeyed apricot comes across really clearly. And it has this nice warm spiciness to it. It's extremely addictive. It projects, it lasts. The name actually doesn't match super duper well with how it smells, but man, this stuff is amazing. That being said, fall and winter. I would not wear this heading into summertime at all. Maybe you could get away with like early spring, but once it heats up, man, it's not that type of scent. But in terms of how that stuff smells, stupid good. The next one is kind of weird. So this is one of the Le Falcone fragrances. It's called Sultan. And I bought, I feel like maybe 5 from Le Falcone, and most of them were not very good. Unimpressive, I guess you could say, is how most of those came across. This one though is really, really solid. It's kind of weird. So if you Google this one, the note breakdown is gonna come across like super tropical, fruity, sweet and all that. But in terms of how it actually smells, it's closer to Tom Ford's ombre leather, but with kind of a twist. It's like taking that ombre leather vibe and especially off the top, giving it a rework, freshening everything up, making it less violet forward. So basically softening the edges for people who may smell ombre leather and think, it's too leathery for me. I just can't really vibe with that. That's what this is. And it's surprisingly good. I say that because again, some of the other Le Falcones that I've gotten have been forgettable. But this stuff is really solid. They don't even have this listed on Fragrantica. They don't even care about it, but it's worth knowing about. All right, next up, kind of a 2-for-1. So this is Riffs Seasons Drift, and then also Codlage Icon. So the reason this is a 2-for-1 is both of these are supposed to smell similar to Bleu de Chanel L'Exclusif. That being said, if you're looking for a 1-to-1 of Bleu de Chanel L'Exclusif, neither of these are that. Can they get you in a similar vein, a similar style? Yes, they can, but if you're looking for like a straight up 1-to-1 where you spray this or this on, and then you spray on the Chanel, side by side and, do back and forth and go, I can't tell which is which. It's amazing. That's not gonna happen at all. And both of these have pros and cons. I'll tell you which one I think is best in a second, but first we'll kind of hit kind of an overview of the differences. Codlage is more of like a TikTok hype brand, like it gets a ton of talk there. Riffs has been around, but here recently has been talked about more often. And I've purchased some Riffs fragrances here lately in some of these hauls that have just not really been good. Not to kill a dead horse that's already dead and been kicked and dead and killed and zombified and killed again. But this right here, Surge and Spectra, kind of a cool idea, like 2 fragrances in one, right? So this is a bottle, this is a bottle. So that's kind of cool. I dig that. Problem is both of these are terrible. So I've not had great luck lately with Riffs. That's what I'm trying to say. This one does look a little bit nicer though, I feel like. Okay, so anyway, back to this. The Riffs fragrance opens up more brisk. It's got an almost aggressive lemon note in there. You know, it's like just really abrasive almost, the way that that hits. And so opening wise, I think that the Cod Lodge is a little bit smoother. The Cod Lodge comes across a little bit more pleasant off the rip. That being said, the Riffs fragrance definitely outperforms the Cod Lodge on my skin. This one projects heavy from the opening, lasts for a long time. The Cod Lodge, a lot of their fragrances are kind of on the weaker end compared to all the other brands out there. This one is not as strong as this one. Neither of these is super close to Bleu de Chanel exclusive off the top, kind of like in the same wheelhouse, but they don't smell similar, not similar enough to be like a full one-to-one replacement. As they dry down, they get a lot closer. I feel like the Riffs fragrance is actually better. It has better projection as it dries. It has more going on. The Cod Lodge icon here ends up smelling a little bit more basic, I guess. It's not an awful scent. It smells all right. It's gonna get you in that Bleu de Chanel headspace, but between the two, Riffs is better. A little more push, a little more going on, a little more interesting. That being said, this is fresher than Bleu de Chanel exclusive, so you could kind of think of it as like a freshened up take on that scent profile. Velixir Poseidon up next. Got kind of like a blue color bottle and then kind of a yellowish colored fragrance. This one smells like Afternoon Swim by Louis Vuitton. And this stuff is stupid good, assuming that you like citrus, which if you're looking for an Afternoon Swim fragrance, you probably should like citrus because that's like the main thing going on there. And I guess you could buy it and hate citrus, but that'd be pretty confusing. That'd be like somebody going, I despise blue fragrances. My God, I have got to get my hand on some Dior Sauvage. I don't know what it is, but I gotta get it. But I hate blue fragrances. It would be insanity. Oh,
what the hell are you talking about?
This stuff is goofy, stupid good as far as being an Afternoon Swim dupe. It outprojects, it outlasts the Louis Vuitton. To be fair, that's not really saying a whole heck of a lot because it's not really a strong fragrance, but still. Issue with this one is in a typical Velixir fashion, not super easy to find right now in the US. Basically, you gotta be hitting up the Bay of Ease or, you know, similar websites. That being said, I would expect it to pop up before too long at, you know, JOMASHOP or some other similar discounter because a lot of their fragrances have finally popped up there. So that is the drawback here. Outside of that, friggin' awesome. Summertime, perfect. Weird face, perfect. Perfect. Now I mentioned JOMASHOP. I do have codes for that website, which are here. They only work within the JOMASHOP app, so do be aware of that. And they change every quarter. Now I have other codes as well that are a little bit easier to use. Like for example, FragFlex. I have a 10% off code you can use anytime you shop there, which I do use every time I shop there. I legit placed an order for like $500 worth of freaking clone fragrances from there. A lot of these actually were from that. Not all of them, but a lot of them. Then I also have codes for a whole bunch of other stores, which you can see here. They're also in the description. So anytime you shop at the Perfume Box or Beauty House or Gift Express or any of these other stores, you can use those codes. The next one's from French Avenue, part of their Aromatics collaboration. It's called Frostbite, which this one is really interesting because the first 30 seconds can be weird, like legitimately weird. The first time I sprayed this one on, I think I legitimately said WTF. But the actual words. I look like Tom DeLonge in the Blink-182 rock show music video. You've seen the meme, but it's legitimately just like the first 30 seconds. When you spray it on initially, like if you spray it and immediately hit your nose with the tester strip, your arm, whatever, it is acrid. It's got like an acidic kind of thing going on. I would imagine all the different fruits that are in here kind of combining together with the blue fragrance-esque undertone. It can smell a bit like bodily stuff. But that settles down super quickly, so a lot of people may not even notice that because you really do have to spray and hit your nose instantaneously to pick that up. After that, it settles down to smell really similar actually to this scent, which is Ambassador by Jasada. Really close to this. So it's gonna give you that blue fragrance kind of vibe that one has. That one's been compared to Dior Sauvage actually, like a fruitier Dior Sauvage, and in a lot of ways, kind of that's what's going on with this one. The blueberry note in here is one of the ones that people talk about most, so that's gonna be one of the ones that you pick up off the top. It does have that blue fragrance versatility to it, so you can use it pretty much year round. And once you get past that initial blast in the opening, super easy to wear. Mykonos Slow Living. Underneath that, Cotton Sheets in Italian Summer. That's a pretty long name. Slow Living Cotton Sheets and also Italian Summer. Right. But anyway, back to this one. Looking at the box, the name, everything, I was expecting something like light blue. I mean, look at that. It's got kind of like the light blue frosted glass, Italian summer, slow living. And again, the box has kind of that like sketched Italian, like beachside kind of vibe to it. So that's what I was expecting. But in actuality, when you spray this one on, it is more similar to an MFK fragrance. Baccarat Rouge, fine, no, I'm just playing. Petit Matin, and also a little bit similar to like Neroli Portofino to an extent. It's gonna give you that familiar clean clothing, kind of white floral aspect, which to be fair, it does say cotton sheets on here, so. Performance is surprisingly good for a scent of this style, and the quality is surprisingly high for a fragrance that looks fairly basic as far as the bottle goes here. Really, really nice for summertime. And this is the type of scent that I like to work in as it starts to heat up a little bit, because it gives you that balance of fresh, clean, and classy, kind of all in one. Now this next one is very, very basic looking. At least in my opinion, it's fairly standard. It's by Wataniah, and it's called Kayaan Terra. Did I butcher that? It's possible. Like I said, really basic looking as far as the whole presentation looks. Actually, the cap reminds me a little bit of like a handle on a dirt bike or something. A very small one. But this right here smells similar to Boss Bottled Absolute. Yeah, now we're talking. One thing to be aware of with this one in particular though, and you know, maybe a couple of these other ones over here as well, but especially this one I want to highlight, it smells better after it has sat for a little bit, or at least mine did. Now it didn't smell bad when I first sprayed it on, but it did smell weak. So it was one of those ones where I sprayed it and it just didn't feel like it had a lot of oomph to it. You know, it just kind of flat, a little floppy. Whether it was a tester strip or skin, like you could catch the waft of what it could be, but it was like all potential, no actual follow through. So you'd smell it and be like, well, I mean, it could be good, but it's thin and crappy. As I let it sit for a little bit, it has gotten better, but I will say it's still not a monster as far as projection goes. Lasts for a good amount of time, but projection still okay. Not terrible, not great, but it does give you a very similar vibe to Boss Bottled Absolute, which is one of my favorite designer releases of the past few years. Elegant, classy, sexy, definitely a little more niche leaning as far as designer fragrances go, which makes sense because it kind of smells similar to Carlisle by Parfums de Marly. Probably going to appeal more, I would say, to guys that are like at least mid-20s and up. But this does a really nice job at capturing that scent profile. Now there is, of course, Assad Elixir by Lattafa, which is also similar to Bottled Absolute. That one's very nice. Also, between the two, the Lattafa has a little more push for me. This one right here, though, may have just a touch more of like the patchouli aspect, which to me, Assad Elixir kind of tones down a little bit. Both are good. In my never-ending search for a Joe Milano fragrance that is worth the price, I picked up Game of Spades Boston, which I don't know if this is incorrect or not, but looking this one up, it said that it was inspired by the Northern Lights, but it's named Boston. I've been to Boston. I don't remember the Northern Lights being a big drawing point for the city. Maybe that's just me. But yeah, for all you Bostonians out there, Northern Lights. Bruh. Oh, shout out Boston. It's a good city. Now, a cool thing about this bottle, it has a really nice rubberized feel to it, and a lot of bottles have that, to be fair, but this one feels somehow different, more rubbery in like a cool way. I dig it. The atomizer is nice, good, pressurized. Now, what does Boston smell like? Well, of course, it smells like Scent of Peace for Him by Bond Number 9, which is a fragrance house centered around New York City. It makes no sense. That being said, Scent of Peace for Him is an overlooked fragrance nowadays. It used to be, got a good amount of hype. It was one of those Aventus adjacent fragrances, you know, kind of like Cedrat Boisé by Mancera, where it doesn't smell like Aventus if you do a side by side, but when you smell it, you're kind of reminded of Aventus. Scent of Peace for Him was like that. And this one is actually pretty good. I like the way this stuff smells. To be fair, I like sending a piece for him too, but yeah. Now this one's never gonna be as hyped as like their Lafayette Street dupe or anything like that, but this stuff smells awesome for year-round use. The projection initially for me was not monstrous, but it was okay. You can help that by spraying more. Again, the atomizer sprays out a ton, so I mean, you can cover yourself with it and maybe have it pump out a little bit more. But I'd say of all the Jo Milanos I've run across here lately, this one is one of my favorites. Really nice stuff, but try to find it if you can at a discount. Jo Milano, basically, they MSRP their fragrances at over $200. Realistically, they don't expect anybody to buy it at that price. But what they're doing is they're anchoring. So they're saying like, look at this, MSRP $200 some dollars. So then when you see it at discounters and it's like $70, but then it has 210 or something like that with a little strike through, it makes it look like a much better deal. So you're like, oh, it's like 140 bucks off, man. That's an awesome deal. And that's kind of the whole idea with Jo Milano, which is something I'm not a huge fan of in general with cologne fragrances, like the price creep. I know everything is price creeping, so but it just does become one of those things where you start to see $60, $70, $80 for dupe fragrances, and you kind of think to yourself like, what's going on here? If you can get this though, like 50 bucks or under, this stuff is solid. I like that. Now this next one's kind of weird. So this is Intoxicate Mystique by Fede. Fede. And the reason I say it's kind of weird is when they first kicked off this little Intoxicate fragrance line, you could see that it's kind of like a Camera, Angel Share type of bottle presentation style. And in fact, the original Intoxicate, that's how it was set up. But then at some point they were like, nah, actually it's kind of whatever we want to do. And this one is Paradigm by Prada. Yeah, so that's kind of interesting, taking a newer release and dropping it into this style bottle and saying heck with it. And this does actually do a really good job at getting Prada Paradigm bottled for less. Now it's not the exact same. This one is a little bit rougher around the edges, I would say, in the opening when you do a side-by-side. The Prada's smoother. But past that first, 4 or 5 minutes or so, super close. And obviously, if you're familiar with Prada Paradigm, you already know that it's kind of trying to play in the same ballpark as fragrances like YSL Myself, that clean, slightly floral tinged fragrance style, done in a very modern way. That's what this is. Another one that's super versatile. Now I got just a few more here. This next one is Moonstone Bleu. This is by French Avenue. Bottle's pretty cool, actually. I like the cap. It's like a little moon, meteorite. And this fragrance smells kind of similar to Sartorial by Penhaligon's. Super random. If you're unaware of Sartorial, it's a barbershop fragrance. It's a classic. Nice lavender, honey, barbershop, clean kind of scent profile. And that's what this one is. Now, it doesn't hit with quite the same depth that Sartorial does. So if you're wanting like a straight up one-to-one, that's not this. But it is very nice, classy, masculine. The honey comes out pretty prominently in here as it dries down for me. So it sweetens up quite a bit. And the initial pop is pretty brisk. I would say of the current Sartorial dupes out there, this may be one of the best ones, if not the best. But just don't go into it expecting it to have the exact same scent profile. It's like a little twist. Memento by Riffs. So this is one of the other ones that I bought alongside this. I also bought the other one that looks similar to this called Rise, but I haven't even unboxed that one yet. So it's got a little R cap. So R. Kelly? No, it's for Riffs, right?
Use your common sense.
But yeah, it's like a little see-through R. It's kind of cool. And this is one of their most hyped fragrances, if not the most hyped. And it smells similar to Arabian's Tonka by Montal. And this one is maybe the most surprising Riffs fragrance that I've smelled so far, mainly because a lot of them have been, but this one is actually very well done. So it's like, well, what's going on here? You got something that's pretty decent, and what's all this stuff? What is it? One thing though, when you first spray this on, especially fresh out of the box, alcohol. That initial blast, I'd say the first 2 to 3 minutes, you can tell it's Arabian's Tonka, but it has like an alcohol over top that. So it's like you're smelling Arabian's Tonka through perfumer's alcohol, essentially. Take a shot every time I say alcohol. You're dead. Sorry. But that's how it opens. That does get better as it ages a little bit, but off the rip, I'd say that's the first thing I noticed. I was like, yeah, it does smell like Arabian Tonka, but it does have a cheap alcohol overtone to it. That cleans up though, so not really a huge deal at the end of the day after you let it, you know, mature. As it dries down, really well done. Nice, smooth, sexy, sweet. Does have a bit of a focus on the florals there on the rose. Outside of that though, that stuff is actually really good. And as far as the scent itself, I'd say the best Riffs that I've smelled so far. And last but not least, this right here, this just caught my eye. I was browsing on, I think this was my Frag Flags, and I just thought it looked kind of cool. And I was like, well, I'll buy it. A little bit Kamra-esque to an extent in terms of it being, you know, this color of fragrance and then the square bottle, but obviously different with the top and the bottom here. It's kind of like a bubbly aesthetic to it. This is called Atik by Nusuk, which when I read that in English, I'm just like, those are letters, but the words are not clicking in my brain. Obviously it's Arabic. So this little dude right here is surprisingly stupid good. Does not smell like Kamra. It is instantly recognizable though. It smells like Naxos. There's a butt ton of those lately and this is one of them. And even though this doesn't have as much of like a name behind it as some of the other Naxos dupes that have come out, which by and large have been really good. There's only like one or two that I think are really not worth it. This one is stupid good. The performance is there, the balance is right. Nice, sweet, very well done tobacco. And there we go. There are some of the better fragrance dupes that I've picked up here lately. I do have a lot that are not that good, so if you want a video of me highlighting some of those, I can absolutely do it for you. I want to thank you guys for hanging with me. Stay safe out there, take care of yourselves. I'll see you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you guys.